Hello and welcome. Checkmate here, and this is going to be episode 6 of our Let's Play Kerbal Space Program. And before we jump into the game, I wanted to go over one quick note. Last episode we did achieve an orbit with a probe around the moon, and I went in here and went back and grabbed the date. So it was year 1, day 5. And just put a little note in here: we achieved an elliptical orbit, transmitted temperature from within the moon's sphere of influence. So we got that one checked off. I just forgot to do it during the last episode. So in episode 5, I told you that we were going to be doing a flyby of the moon on this episode, but turns out I lied, because kind of planning ahead here, and we really need to get more funds. We only have 373 right now, and before I go to the moon, I really want to upgrade this VAB, because we're limited on these 30 parts right now. And I could upgrade it now, but it's going to take a huge chunk of our money, and there's some other things that I want to be working on getting upgraded. I really want to upgrade the R&D facility too before we actually land on the moon, because when we land on the moon, if we're level 2, I can take a surface sample. So that's almost $500,000 there. And then it would be nice to get this one upgraded as well. Looking at tracking station, when we upgrade to level 3, we get this max DSN power, and that affects our range of communication, how far out we're able to communicate with probes. And also we get that maneuver tool right there, which is going to help with, not so much with the moon or Minmus, but when we're trying to get encounters with other planets, sometimes that maneuver tool will work and give you a pretty decent encounter. So got several things I'd like to get upgraded, and it's just going to take money to do it. So I thought I would take the next 2 episodes, and I'll keep them short. I'll try to keep them short, and just do some contracts to get a little money. And then, so that'll be this episode, and then episode 7 we'll work on contracts, and the goal is for episode 8 to finally orbit the moon with a Kerbal. Now, the type of contracts, there's 2 different types that I want to work on. The first kind is these observational surveys of Kerbal. If we click on that, if we go in here, this one wants us to basically fly to these locations and below these altitudes and take a crew report. So we're going to have to build an airplane for this and just fly to these 3 locations and take a crew report. That'd get us, a little bit of money. That's not terrible, 55,000. But the type of contract that's the real money maker is going to be these. I think I have one here. Ferry 2 tourists safely to their destination and back. So this one, they want us to basically take these 2 passengers with us up in orbit Kerbal. We have to do a suborbital flight and then an orbit around Kerbal. So basically, if we go up and put these 2 into orbit, return them safely back to Kerbal, that's going to be 20, 40, almost 50,000 for this one. So these ferry tourist contracts, these are very lucrative. You really can start making some money with these. And once we do this one, it'll open up more. So eventually you'll have some of these where they want 6 people in a contract. So you can really start making a couple 100,000 per contract off of these tourist contracts. So that's the ones I'm going to do And what I'll do is I'll do this episode, we'll do the survey and I'll show you how I do those. We'll build an airplane and I'll go around and I'll do those. Next episode I'll build the ferry orbiter. That sounds funny. We're not orbiting ferries. We're going to ferry, different type of ferry. We'll build that orbiter next episode, and I'll do one of these missions and show you through completion. And then off camera, I'm just going to grind some of these out and try to get our funds up. Try to get us up over $1 million or so, just so we have a good account buffer here to work with. And for people that are watching and keeping an eye on me to make sure I'm not cheating, I'll show you this before and after. So when I come back after I've grinded out, so after episode 7, I'll just show you the archive of what all I do off camera. I just don't think it's going to be very good content for people to just sit there and watch me fly an airplane around, or just to go up orbit after orbit after orbit. It's going to get redundant here pretty quick. So I'm going to go ahead and grab these two. Now we have already upgraded our, the administrative building? I forget which one it is, but we already have upgraded we can get up to 7 contracts. So I'm going to go ahead and grab both of these now before they expire. Yeah, I think that's the only. This is of the moon. That's a rescue mission. I'm not ready to do that yet. So okay, so we have those 2 contracts now. So first, let's go to the research building, because I have to unlock my aviation. Luckily, we have enough science to do this, so I can unlock this. I need this one to be able to build the airplane that I want to use. So research that, and let's go to the space plane hangar. So if we come over here, we're going to build a little airplane. Something that's hopefully kind of easy to fly and land. I've had to do some testing. Really kind of got frustrated with myself there for a little while. But I finally found a good setup that's somewhat easy to land, because the landing is really the difficult part with these planes. So I'm starting with these 2 fuselage. These are fuel fuselage bodies, and this is what was getting me. You really need to go in here and turn this fuel down, because let's look at the weight as it is right now. This thing's already, just with the cockpit and these 2, we're already almost 6 tons. And what was happening, I would come in for landing and just barely touch the ground and it would automatically explode. So I went back and I turned this fuel down to 0, and now you see we're way lighter now. Much lighter. And we don't need this fuel, I'm just using this as a structure. Now I think later we'll actually unlock some fuselage, just a body parts. But anyway, gonna put a nose cone on the end of this, and then we need some wings. So I want to get these type B. It's gonna look a little funny, but we're gonna actually put them back here at the back, and then we need a rear tail fin. I want to turn that to 1, and then I'm going to put 2 on the front of the plane, like this. Okay, and now for engines, we need to go back. You have these Mark 0 liquid fuel fuselage. This is what's going to actually power our engines. So I'm going to stick those under here. I have to bring that down a little bit. Let's try that. And this is the actual engine, the Juno basic jet engine. We're going to put that on the back here. And then these need air intake. So if we go, I think it's here. Yeah, we get our little small circular air intake. Put 2 of those there. Alright. Now let's look at aerodynamics. We want to see the center of mass and our center of drag. So we want, just like with the rockets, we want this to be just behind, we want the center of your lift to be just behind the center of the mass. And we can either move the weight back, move the weight back a little, we can pull the wings forward a little. Let's see if we can just pull the wings forward a bit. Okay, that worked out pretty good. I like that. My lift is just a little bit above. Let's see if I can. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I wanted to move. I've got them angled down, and that. How that would fly. I may test that later. I don't want to test anything with Jeb in the cockpit. I need to turn my lock back on. What I wanted to see, if I lower this with the move tool, can we fix that? Move this in just a little bit like that. Now, one thing to note, we probably are blocking our cockpit here, which is not optimal, but I don't plan on getting out. Okay, let's go with that. Pretty happy with that setup there. Now we need landing gears, so we're gonna put one of these on the front. Just one. I'm gonna go right about center. Right about there. And then for the rear ones, it's kind of important. We need to attach these to this fuselage first. We need 2 of them. Because if we attach it, I'm told that if you attach it to the fuselage first, it's a stronger connection. And then after we've attached it, we can move it around to wherever we want to. And where we want it to be is back behind this center of mass, but not too far behind it. We can just drag it back to about right here. And then for stability, I'm going to pull it out a little bit, so that actually gets it out there on the wings. So that should be pretty stable. Back just a little bit more, right about there. Alright. I believe that will fly. And before we take off, there's a couple of other adjustments we need to make. So we have 3 different control surfaces with this airplane. We have these front fins, we have this tail fin, and then we have the wings here. We need to add, actually, a couple of these to the wings. It's usually tricky to get it to line up. It's because I don't have lock turned on. That's one thing that's hurting me. Just gotta play around with it. So we want to use the front fins for our pitch. We want to use these for our roll. And we want to use this for the yaw. I didn't mean to take that off. This is our yaw. Make sure I didn't mess up my balance here. Seem affected. Quit fidgeting with it. That's good enough. So we want to right click on these and I want to turn off. Right now this is doing all three. It's doing pitch, yaw, and roll. We don't want it doing all three. I just want it to do yaw. These front ones are for pitch, so we want to turn off yaw and roll. And I put them on with symmetry so they are both being affected, whichever one I click on. And then for these are for roll. So we'll turn off pitch and yaw. And then finally, I want to turn off this authority limit. Well, I don't want to turn it off. I want to turn it way down though. About 5 degrees there. And then I do about 8 on these. You can adjust this in flight, but it's basically how much reaction you're going to get when you press WASD or QE for roll. If it's turned all the way up, it's going to be a very drastic movement. If you dial it back, it's a little less reactive, a little smoother to control it. So I do want to put a couple of things on here, even though this is all we need is a crew report. I'm going to go ahead and set ourselves up for the other contracts that may come along. I want to put a thermometer on here. I want to put it, let's put it on the bottom out of the way, and a barometer. Then I do need an antenna because we are going to be transmitting, getting that lag again. Don't know why it's doing that. There's an antenna back here. And I'm going to stick a couple of batteries on here. Go with 2 because we got to be mindful of our part count. I'm at 23. I put 2 of these. I wonder if I just put a solar panel on this thing. It's probably always going to be in the sunlight. We could do 3. We could do 1 on each side like this, and 1 on top. Yeah, let's do that, and then it will always be powered. Actually, I'm still going to need some batteries because when I transmit, it's a pretty uses a lot. Just stick those under. Do symmetry on those and stick them under here somewhere. Alright, so this should be good to go. We're gonna give it a shot and see. move this in a little bit. I don't think that it'll be a problem with drag. But my luck. The rip off. Okay. And I'm going to save this as, we'll call this X1 survey plane. Save that, and let's put Jeb in there. And see, I have a couple of my tourists are in here already because I accepted that contract. So we'll get to those next episode. But I think we're ready to fly. I may crash and burn, Jeb may die in this one, but let's keep our fingers crossed that doesn't happen. So when I get out here to the, oh, I already see a problem. I forgot to do one thing. So if you notice, that nose was facing up pretty high in the air and the back was almost touching the ground. We need to correct that. So what you can do, if you can see here, it looks like the back wheels are much higher than the front. And we want to get them so if you look at the background here, we have this window running all the way across. If I line my back wheels up like that, you can see now in relation to this line how much lower this is. So what we want to do, we want to set the front wheel to where it's just below the line, and then we want to bring these back wheels down to the line. So we're going to pull these down to the line like that. I thought I stretched these out a little bit more. Did I not have these out on the wings? I thought I did. I think it'll fly. So that should be much better. The reason the front is a little bit lower is because we want it to have just a natural tilt upwards. We want the front to be sort of just naturally pointing up a little bit. It just helps facilitate the takeoff a little better. So now if we look, we should be in a better position here. Yeah, that's better. Now I'll lock the brakes, because if I don't, it'll just start rolling. Press Z to throttle up, press T to turn on the SAS, and then spacebar to fire the engines off. I'm going to let it just ramp up a little and turn the brakes off. Now I think around 40 meters per second I can start taking off here. Let's see. Yep. And all I did was I pressed S, which is just these front wings. And that pitches it up, and then you pitch down. And then we can, with QE, we can roll left and right. And then yaw is this tail fin here. If we do A, D. I mostly use that on the runway to steer. When I'm coming in for landing, I might try to dial it in just a little bit of that. Anyway, we'll get a little altitude, and let's go to our map and find out where we need to go. So we're out past, this is our markers. This Kerbal luck. What I'm going to do, I'm going to set this one here as a navigation target. And you see it's over here to my right, but it's way out here. I'm going to I'll go ahead and start turning. Get lined up on this. Just want to get my prograde marker kind of in line with that. Now as we get closer, this marker will move up towards the top of the ball, and when it's up toward the top is when we're getting under it. So we're in the right heading now, so we'll just speed things along here. Before I do that, right click, get this ready. So when we get under it, we'll just go ahead and do it. Alright, let's speed things along here. Get under target. You can see that's moving up on the ball now as we get closer under it. We'll be getting a message in a minute to tell us, right there it is, we're entering zone 53L2. So let's do a crew report here, and we're going to transmit it. I'm just looking at my electric charge. Good. So now, I actually got two of them right there. It gave me two of the three right there. I don't know how that happened. So now we need to get over here to Kerbal's Luck. So that's going to be south of our position. Let's get lined up on that. I don't see it on my nav ball. I know that it's south of me. Not exactly south, a little bit. Sort of southwest, I think it was. It's about due south of us. Now, I tested a lot to get this plane where I could land it. So, in your own playthrough, don't get frustrated when you crash and burn a lot to land. And I may still crash and burn this thing, but it really just takes a lot of practice to be able to land these things. Go through that. Now, I'm going to do this mission in this episode. Next episode, I'll do one of the tourist, burying the tourist missions, and then off camera, I'm gonna, I can warp to here. No, I did not do that. Off camera, I'm going to just grind out a bunch of these, because you probably don't want to sit here and watch me just fly around. Alright, we've entered Kerbal's Luck. Let's get that crew report. Very good. Let's see. Crew report. There it is. Transmit. And we've got this contract, so we need to start heading back. And we can do the same thing. We can set this as our target. What I'm going to do, I'm going to fly back north. As soon as I clear these islands, I'll go west and come in for my landing approach. So this bank. So yeah, I'm going to just do a bunch of these off camera and get our money built up a little bit here. Gotta make sure I don't stall out here. Then, once I've got a comfortable cushion of money, we'll start looking at going to the moon. That should be just get into a stable. If you notice up here in the top, you have this other indicator. That's actually important. This is telling me that my vertical speed is currently 5 meters per second. So I'm increasing altitude by 5 meters. Now if I level off, it goes down. So now I'm dropping 5 meters per second. And that is something that when you're landing, you'll observe that probably more. I'm just trying to get it close to 0, and then I can fast forward a bit. See if this will drop right now. So yeah, you don't want to be dropping too fast when you come in for a landing. If this is pegged down here, you're dropping at 100 meters per second, and you're going to blow up. If it's positive, then you're not going to land. So, I try to get it. I try to hold between 0 and try to hold it around 5. You see, here is on the nav ball down here, there's the Space Center coming up. Now I'm going to start shedding some of this altitude. I'm going to slow down. I just want to kill my engines here. I'll just go up to about the first notch. I need to start shedding some of this altitude. And I'm going to try to hit the runway, but if it's looking like it ain't going to happen, all the grass around here is pretty flat. And actually, if you walk around on this grass on the 270 line and you try to plant a flag, or you do a EVA report, it says you're on the runway. So you can land on the grass. You get different people will have different opinions on whether you should try to land on the grass or the runway. The argument being, one side says just land on the grass until you learn how to land. The other side of the argument is, well, you need to be practicing your approach and landing on the runway, because in the future, if we build something like a shuttle, we're going to have to be able to land it on the runway. We're not going to be able to land that in the grass. So I'm going to try to hit this runway, but not at the expense of, if I think it's going to cause us to crash, then I'll just set her down on the grass here, because we don't want to lose a crew member. So what I'm trying to do, it's hard to see the runway. Let me get rid of this. Runway's here. It's running at 270 degrees on the nav ball. So if we made our heading 270, we'd be exactly the same approach, but we may not be lined up with it, if that makes sense. So I'm going to get on a 270 heading. Down here at the bottom you can see your heading. We're at 280 right now. We're just going to swing around and get it to 270, so at least we'll be on the right alignment, but we may not be lined up with it. Well, that's looking pretty good right there. Not quite 270. Overshot it a little bit there. This takes a lot of practice. Press caps lock. This gives me a little bit more delicate controls on these attitude adjustments. Alright, so I'm not in line with that runway. I'll make sure I don't crash in the ocean. So we're down about 500. I'm going to kind of hold here until we get closer. turn my tail fin. That helps straighten us up a little bit. May have to give a little speed. I'm going to switch over to terrain on my altimeter. Trying to keep, I'm watching this altitude, this vertical speed indicator. I'm actually going up, but that's fine for now. I want to be, when I get close to this shoreline, I'm going to try to shoot for around 100 meters. And then start our descent. Just got to be patient. Play with the tail fin, see if I can line up a little better here. Every time I do that, my nose drops. I think I'm going to throttle up just a little bit. That's as good as I'm going to be able to get it. So we're down to about 200. As soon as I touch down, I'm going to toggle my brakes up here. It's a pretty good approach. Now I'm sitting at a 0, so we're going to start just bumping down a little bit. So now I'm about a -4. So we're dropping our altitude. And I'm going to throttle on down some more. Actually, I'm just going to kill the throttle at this point. -4. Just want to make sure this doesn't start going really fast down. At this point, I'm going to nose down just a little bit because we're going to run out of runway if I don't. Alright, Jeb, hang on. Here we go, bud. Ready to hit that brakes. Okay, brakes engaged. And I'm going to do my front flap. I'm going to point them down. And we're going to just tap that tail fin. Steer it back to the runway here. See how long it takes to stop. Now I'm going to call that a runway landing. Wasn't the prettiest thing, but we got it done. Alright, very good. So our funds have gone up a little bit because we completed that contract. And if I go and I look, I'm going to see if that gave me any more. No, it did not. Okay, well, so maybe when I complete this one, if I get some more of these survey, usually you get several different types. I think this is just a random generator of which contracts you get. But anyway, we got that one done. And what I'm going to do now, in the next episode, we'll build us a rocket that can get tourists up into space and start knocking out some of those. So anyway, hope that was instructive, and I'm glad Jeb didn't die on that attempt, because once he's dead, he's dead. And that's going to do it for this episode, and thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.